it's Rachel with Porter Valley Ranch, and I wanted to do a June garden tour. I actually did a May one, but it didn't record all the way. So we're just like going to zoom right to June so that you see more of the progress, not necessarily how we got there, but I'm going to talk through some of the things that I have done. Number one, I wanted this garden to have more annuals this year. Last year I did not do that. We created the garden last year. We did a lot of vegetables, but I didn't do a lot of perennials, annuals, or like season around interest. And that was something that was just severely lacking in this year because once gardening season was over, the garden was just a dead zone. So I really wanted to find some ways to make it alive more from spring all the way through the year. So I found some evergreens and I found some of the perennials that will come back next year. But to really make a potager, you've got to have a balance of pretty flowers and vegetables. So I was severely lacking in the flowers department last year, and that's something I really focused on this year. Something that I decided to do, and it's not necessarily the way most people approach a garden, but I really wanted to pick a color scheme, like if I was trying to change my living room or something and give it a makeover. And so I really started thinking, how can I do this in a color scheme that I like? And a lot of times there's soothing, there's kind of folksy, like we can't mix a lot of yellows and reds with colors that aren't going to look good. So I really looked at the color chart. Josh is an art major, so he helps a lot with color and looking at things that are contrasting and tertiary, and all those kinds of things are always part of our conversations when we start to do new projects. So I decided, dun dun dun, the color garden scheme is going to be a jewel tone. So from there, I just researched a lot of different plants that were going to work for my area, that were going to work for the location of light in the garden, and then I had a main list of colors that I wanted to do, kind of like a color swatch, kind of like paint. And from there, I selected plants. For the first little garden bed, as you enter, this is one that I really wanted the jewel tone to pop, and so I started with some petunias, which do really well in our area, and some salvia, and I chose tones that went with the paint color swatch I was going for. My goal too is to get this clematis to climb all the way up, but being the first year, it's a little bit weak right now, so it's something that there'll be purple vibrant flowers. Another interesting thing that I chose to do, I went in for boxwoods, and after talking to the nursery that I went to, which is always the best thing that you should do, it was a local nursery, and they convinced me to go with Abelia. And the Abelia that I chose to go with is called Kaleidoscope. And what's cool about that is each season, it's got a different color, it's got a different tone. So right now you're looking at it here, but it's going to change as the seasons change. And it will also get about 3 feet tall, and I can make it a hedge. So my goal is for the hedge to come up and the clematis to climb behind, and then I realize I'm gonna have to fill this annual front of the bed each time. But right now these are just thriving, they're doing so well. Okay, another favorite area of the garden is are the Anorak chairs that we have over here. Right now these are not in bloom, but they are African daisies, so they're just a really pretty mix of this pink purple color. We've got white. Some of them will be just purple, some of them a little more pink, but they're just gorgeous and they fit with the color scheme as well. And then here I did some creeping Jenny in the front, but the back is a boxwood, and that one's a wintergreen, and so it's a baby gem because I know it needs to stay small in the container, but I'm hoping that it will come up and I can keep it in a very round shape. And then moving on, these are the little berries. So this little row right here are the berries that I did last year. We have blackberries here, and you can see some of those are starting to form. You can see the flowers too. And then over here are the blueberries. Same thing. It's a second year plant, so it's doing pretty well for where it's supposed to be right now. These are also, and the rest of these are also blueberries. This one has not fruited as much as the others, so it is something I'm waiting to see if it's just a different seasonal one or what's going to happen. This one does pretty well too. It only did this last year. This is a second year plant too, so it'll be interesting to see if it gets more hardy produces more. Okay, for my flower pots right here, this is something I actually just put these in recently. I had something that blew over, so I went with a salvia. This is an annual salvia. It will not come back, and so I went ahead and did other annuals. This is going to be a dwarf morning glory, so I'm excited to see that. It's supposed to trail, and then this is just a bedding filler with the fuchsia color. So I want to add the chartreuse sweet potato vine, but I'm actually propagating those from a pot you'll see here in just a second. And when that project finishes, I'm going to fill in here, and so hopefully with the morning glory and the sweet potato there will be some trailing going on. So these are twins, they're similar. And then also over here we have a video coming out about the wicking tubs, and I love this concept. I've had to water this far less than anything else, and it's doing really well. These are sunburned because it is very late for us in zone 7B to be doing peas, but it's actually been a cooler May than normal, so they are still going, they're still producing. So once those come out, I will probably do peppers, but you just water through here. So we'll have a video out on making these wicking tubs. It was a phenomenal interview that I did with Leon Sloan, Gardening with Leon, and he shares his wisdom and his ways of making of gardening in these tubs that you have to use far less water for, and things stay way healthier. So many benefits. But when we get our hoop house up, it's something I just want to fill with wicking tubs because it is genius. It's a great way to do things. Okay, so moving on, we have our onions here. I actually have 2 beds of onions because I think I got really excited in the spring. They're like the first thing I can plant here, so I really did a whole lot. I'll be sharing onions, that's for sure. My guess is it's corn, because it looks like some of the Indian corn that I got last year that is more of like a red tone on the corn, and it would have had to have blown from the top bed to the bottom. So I'm just kind of letting it go to see what happens. It could totally be a weed as well, but I just want to know. I just want to know what that volunteer is, because it doesn't match the weeds and the other things that are growing around here. And then actually last fall I planted some sweet potatoes, and so I see this here. I know that's what kind of leaf that is, and so there's a grasshopper, which are our nemesis around here. I use, what is it, babe?
7?
No, diatomaceous earth.
Diatomaceous.
I use diatomaceous earth. I know insecticidal soap's not going to do much for them, but they are so hard to kill. And so we did do some 7 on the perimeter, like the yard over there. We wouldn't use it in the garden, but because you could hear them buzzing in the spring as they were like hatching and having babies. So we worked on trying to get rid of them, and they're not near as bad as they were last year, but they are still really prone to this area. I'm guessing I just disturbed their entire ecosystem when we did this garden last year. Okay, moving on. Again, here's some lettuce. I did seed tape. Love the seed tape. I'm one that stresses about spacing, and seed tape is the solution to that stressor. However, we have a rabbit friend. I have not cut any lettuce from this, but you can see the rabbit has had his or her fair share. And so at this point, I guess I'm just feeding a rabbit. I mean, I'm obviously trying to catch it and do things, but I'm not having any luck. But as long as it's coming for this, it doesn't seem to be too curious for other things. So rabbits will come and they'll eat and they'll leave, but they're not gonna like ravage your garden. So like, I kind of am looking at this as a deterrent at this point until I can catch the rabbit. But I've got my pepper plants here because I know that needs to come out soon. And again, it's been a cold May, so the lettuce is not burned, it's still working. And then I've got my coneflowers on the end, which are interesting because right now, I looked at them just this morning and only saw leaves, and now I'm starting to see buds, and this one especially. So I mean, literally overnight, they are budding up. So I'm excited about that echinacea. And pepper plants, and tomatoes. This is kind of my leftover bed. I couldn't fit any more tomatoes. I have so many tomatoes this year. And so I just went ahead and put them in here after the because this was also a lettuce bed. And I went ahead and put peppers in here as well. And I still have the tags because I haven't logged them in my garden journal, so I wanted to leave the tags on until I got those recorded, and then I'll remove them. However, I am excited about these pepperoncini peppers. I don't know if anyone does Mississippi roast, but my family does. We love it, and I think it'd be awesome to have our own. Okay, sweet potato. This little buddy was so puny and terrible. At the beginning of May, I got it for like $5 at Ace, and it is thriving. And so I decided to start clipping some and propagating it, because if you go to a store at this point, it's $4. So $4 for like a 4-inch pot. And I've got some, it does so well in this area. So I've got some that I want to put in both of those. I want to put some in the front bed. I want to put some by the pool. I have lots of areas for it. So my thought is if I can just propagate it, which takes about 3 days, then this little $5 pot is going to be all over the yard. Also, these are my jewel tone bed, and I've got like a money wort down here. It's hopefully going to fill this area in. These red geraniums have done really well. As soon as they start to die off, I go ahead and prune them just to encourage new growth, and they seem to be liking that structure. More of the kaleidoscope azaleas. I probably should prune at least that one. That just looks a little scraggly, but right now, you know, I want them to bulk up before I really trim them. And then the lobelia hanging basket, I love. I've learned that is definitely something that I'm gonna want to get in the future as seeds when I have the hoop house and start those, because I could have them everywhere. It's really hard to find blue flowers that are not purple. So lobelias and these dwarf mini morning glories are two things that I would like to sprinkle in that blue color from my jewel tone in lots of different areas. And one more, we've got 2 different kinds of clematis that are going to grow back here. But I can't tell you exactly which ones those are. I know they're different. They're 2 different ones, so we'll see which one does better in our area, and I might add more of that later. Moving to a vegetable bed, I've got tomatoes, and then some of these peas. It's almost time for these things to come out, but as you can see, I mean, it's still worth keeping in because we're still getting produce. Sugar snap are our absolute favorites. We've got green peas started here. You can see I've got lots of buds, and then also we're starting some of that, so they're doing really well. More peas back here. I've got Lincoln peas too, which are what these are, so they're still doing really well. And then more tomatoes. My zinnias, they're kind of an experiment. I have not planted any zinnias this year. Last year I did tons of seeds, and I had tons of zinnias, and they reseeded, and so I'm kind of been waiting to see where they fall. A lot of them have fallen outside of beds, and I tried a little bit of transplanting, which flowers are so finicky, so I'm not sure it's going to work, but it's worth it. It was free flowers, so we're gonna see if they survive. But the ones that seeded outside of the bed, I moved into beds. And then down here I have loofah. It just needs to be a little bit taller so I can tie it up here, and that is going to be what trellises over. Last year I had cherry tomatoes, which only probably got about here. Little disappointing, and so I wanted something that I know is going to cover, and we had a loofah last year, just nuts. It went all the way up the tree. Like, there were literally loofahs hanging from the tree because the vine just went crazy. So I'm hoping it'll go crazy in a good way this year, in a trained way. And then over here, this bed is just more of the same. This loofah is ahead of the other one, so it's well on its way to working up. I need to pull this off because it's finding the wrong fence. There, I want you on that one. So that's on its way. Again, these zinnias are reseeded ones. And then my tomatillas. Josh and I love this this salsa, green salsa dip from Sam's. So good, and it's a tomatilla one. So I decided I would grow some and see how far I could get with that this year. More cucumbers. We did not feel like we grew enough last year, so I might have gone overboard. Same with tomatoes. they're all doing really good. I've actually pruned some already, and I've gotten some suckers off, but they are just so thick. But they're in that really thick nitrogen stage right now where I need to come back in and add a tiger bloom or some kind of phosphorus that's going to encourage the buds, because I don't have near as many buds as I want, but I am very encouraged with the greenness, the nitrogen of all of it. This is our melon patch. This was one, actually I had a whole row growing outside right here because I had planted seeds and then a storm came, and the wind has been awful too, so it blew all of the seeds and they started growing in this ground. So I transplanted them back into the bed, and so far so good. But I did catch that whenever they started sprouting outside of the bed. So honeydew melon, cantaloupe. This is cantaloupe. This bed is cantaloupe. And then that bed is my watermelon. I still need to work on some of that mulch, but I was fertilizing before I got the mulch down and did not get it pushed back over. This is our okra bed right here. This okra did awesome. Those, I had 2 more rows planted of okra, and it just was a miss. It's a hit and a miss. Hit and miss. Over here, this is a perennial, and I mean, honestly, it looks like rutabaga, but I know it's not a black-eyed Susan, so I need to look up what it is. I just remember I did buy it. It was a very, very small plant from Lowe's last year that I got on sale. I know.
Iridescent bee.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Out of everything in the garden, there's always a bee of some color or sort here. And look, is this a tiny squash bug? Just in case. Yeah. Well, anyway. So yeah, this, I'll look it up and let you know, because it's definitely the most successful pollinator we have going. And even the weird ones come, so there's that. And then this is strawberries. Again, if you see a zinnia, it is a volunteer from last year. And if you'll notice my L-shaped beds, I tried to do some symmetry with them. So each one of them have a boxwood in the corner. And these 2 are similar. So they're both strawberry beds, and they both have clematis that's gonna grow up. And then these 2 are similar in that they both had cucumber. However, the rabbit kept, oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. The rabbit kept eating. I did 3 different transplants from the seed room of cucumbers in that, and it ate them. So that must be what they did to the okra. But both of these right here had cucumbers. For some reason, this onion must be a really good rabbit repellent, because that cucumber is thriving. It's looking awesome. So every bed here has a inside corner of lavender, a outside corner of boxwoods, and then these 2 match and these 2 match. This clematis has so many more blooms. So for whatever reason, it was either a healthier, I did not grow that from seed. I got it from Ace, but it's very healthy. And then you can see the border here. These are all zinnias. So I'm excited to see those pop up. And I have had a few strawberries. They're kind of few and far between. I know they're a fruit, so they take a few years to get going. But some of these plants are 3 years old, because I transplanted them from the outside garden outside of our kitchen up here last year. So it's kind of just like a daily surprise. I don't know which one's 2 years old, which one I just planted in the spring, and which one is 3 years old. But like sometimes we come out and they're strawberries, and my kids get them as fast as they produce. So right now I don't have any for you. And over here we have the grapevine that we did last fall. So we did grapevines in the fall. We did not do them in the spring, and they all looked pitiful, and I didn't think it was going to work, and it is. It's actually working. So we are going to have a video very soon on building the trellis for these, because there was no need to prune them in the winter, because we just put them in the fall, and they were literally like 2, maybe 3 sticks coming out of the ground. There was nothing to prune. So at this point, you can see it's even trying. I mean, obviously with it being the first spring, they're not gonna be all the way grapes. But we're gonna go ahead and trellis everything and prune what we need to, because some of these are getting like really healthy, and I know it's sending a lot of energy up, so we're gonna do the best thing for those. This one's stunted because Zeke, my 13-year-old, pulled a wheelbarrow in here on Mother's Day. I made everybody work on a drip irrigation system because that's what I wanted, and so he had a wheelbarrow over here, and I look over and all of a sudden the wheelbarrow is on top of the grape plant. So you can see it did some damage. And over here, finally, this is completely new this year. This is our perennial bed, and I kind of kept this as a compost bed. This corner was, whenever we would clean out the sheep pen, we would just throw it over there, and my goal was to do compost starter and turn it and move it, and it didn't happen. And so we just kind of spread it all out and did a perennial bed this year, and I'm gonna work harder on my compost goals. But my goal was to carry the jewel tone color scheme over here and find things that are just perennials, and I did really well until I did the little lobelia. So just real quick, the salvias that you're gonna see are perennial salvias. That one's a Maynite. This is a sedum, autumn joy sedum. We've got, I believe it's asters back there. And then I did boxwoods because I want them to cover up the view of the sheep pen from the garden, just to put a blocker there. So I've got a wintergreen and a green mountain, and a wintergreen and a green mountain. And my goal is to trim them into a ball and then a cone, and a ball and a cone, and just kind of make the hedge have a couple different designs in it. So that's the goal for that area. Okay, these are also lemon coral sedum. As you see, I've got to bring in some more. Did you get the mulch bags on your way home? No. Okay. Well, we're gonna add mulch bags when we get some more pine mulch, and that's gonna cover that corner and make it look better. But I love the coral bells. I love that they totally fit my color scheme. I had to search high and low for this blue-black salvia because it looks really great. Again, trying to find a blue color and not a purple color. And then I'm really excited when these are gonna start to show. This is, you can see it's budding up, but these are coral phlox. So phlox does so well in our area, but my issue with it and why I didn't want to do the ground covering one is because it really looks great for like 2 or 3 weeks. And my goal is to find something that's gonna last at least 3 months. So that's been what I've done. Also, I planted just little 4-inch pots of the lobelia seeds. Actually, they were grown into here. This hosta is just a fluke. It was in the front bed, and we have a stray rooster, as many of you probably do as well, because that's not too weird, right? It's a rooster, and it's on its own, and it's just living life day to day. However, chickens love hostas, so I had just bought this one, and it ate it to the nub. So I brought it up here, and it's actually growing back out, so I'm excited about that. This is a safe haven, so anything that's in danger needs to come up here, so the goats and the chickens and everything else can't eat it. Another coral bell, finishing out the pattern of the boxwoods. Penstemon. It's a good height and a good color for this, but I haven't been super impressed with it. It was bloomed when I bought it, and it looks like we're working on another round, so I'm excited to see. It is a hot pink color, so I'm hoping that comes back really well. Those are asters, but I think the bunny likes those as well. And this dahlia, so look, this is gorgeous. And what's been hard about this is at the beginning of the season, anytime it starts to die, you need to go ahead and cut it off, which you can see some of my cuts that I've made, so that it can encourage it to produce more buds. So luckily you see the 2 cuts I've made right here and then all these buds. So that seems to be being true to that dahlia as well. It's obviously an annual, it's not a perennial, but my goal is at the end of the season, if the color works out and it all went really well and it stays good in this area, then I'll dig up the tuber and overwinter that. This is also a dahlia, but right now it's like in just the making buds mode. It's not really in a show mode yet. So yeah, that's the goal here, is for that to all just kind of come back each year, keep bringing its goodness, and we'll see if that happens. But overall, it's a lot. And when you sit back and look at it and you go, wow, it feels like you're waiting on so much to happen. But then like today, sharing this with you, I realized it's happening. It's actually working. So I'm super excited to watch these things grow this summer. And obviously my desire to garden has just really grown over the year, and I've really just dug in and deep dived on some of these things, like the perennial beds, the color schemes, the new vegetables we haven't done before. So anyway, super excited to see how that goes, and thanks for going through the garden with us.